Hello and welcome to Catholic Kickstarter. My name is Stephen Fleming, and you are very welcome to probably one of the last of our episodes of the Jewish Roots. I might try and get an Easter Sunday one out, but today we're focusing on Good Friday, and Good Friday has been the 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 big place where we've been leading to over these weeks. And today we're going to talk about Good Friday and how Jesus died on the cross and what is significant about that for us as Christians today. So I'm really excited, and let us be back in a second. So, as I said, today we're talking about Good Friday. So, what is Good Friday telling us this week? So, as we are now approaching Holy Week, you'll notice that on Palm Sunday, we're going to be reading the Passion. But interestingly, they normally take it from the Synoptic Gospels. But on Good Friday itself, the Passion is taken from the Gospel of John. And the reason that they focus on John is like, because it focuses on a particular area. It talks about the piercing of Jesus, and it also talks about him having a drink. So we have all of the other things that are included, but those two specific things are included. And so in today's episode, we're going to focus on those things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to read the gospel and focus in more on it. So let us now read the gospel and focus on what is Jesus saying to us today. So, after this, Jesus knowing that all was now finished, he said to fulfill the scriptures, I thirst. A bowl full of vinegar stood there. So they put a sponge full of vinegar on a hyssop and held it to his mouth. When Jesus had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Since it was the day of preparation, and in order to prevent the bodies from remaining on the cross of the Sabbath, for the Sabbath was the high day, the Jews asked Pilate that their legs be broken and that they may be taken away. So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who had been crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. But one of the soldiers pierced his side, and at once blood and water came out. He who saw it has borne witness to this testimony. For these things took place, that the scripture might be fulfilled. Not a bone of his shall be broken. And again, in another place, in scripture it says, and they shall look upon him who was pierced. So today I want us to really focus and look at the scriptures. Look at what Jesus is telling us in this time. So if you ask Scott Hahn, who is a scholar in America, he points out this. He points out the fourth cup. And it might be really interesting, because why does Jesus say, I thirst? What is significant? And why does he say it's finished? Remember that question to ask why. What he points out is that what he points out is that during the Passover, that there was 4 cups. So you'd have one at the start of the meal, one a little bit into the meal, one that we see Jesus take in the institution of the Eucharist. And then there was a 4th one after the psalm. You remember the psalm that we spoke about last week? The psalm that they sang? Well, there would have been a 4th cup drank there. But note that that wasn't taken. In fact, they went to Gethsemane, and you can remember, if you remember the Gospels, how in all of the different Gospels in Gethsemane, he says, and take this cup from me. Father, please take this cup from me. So this is a new cup. So like for a Jew, they would have looked back and they would have gone, well, where was the 4th cup? Why did they not drink the 4th cup of the Passover? So this was really significant. Something also that is really interesting is the hyssop, because this brings it back to the original Passover, the first Passover. Because the hyssop, by putting the wine on the hyssop and allowing him to drink that 4th cup, I'm giving it away a little bit here, the hyssop was used to spread the blood of the lamb on the doorposts in the first Exodus, the first Passover, where the blood would have been put on the doorposts. So what? Yes, the hyssop branch is showing that Jesus is the new Passover lamb, that there is a new Passover, a new Exodus taking place. So the other thing that is also significant is, if you notice, they comment about that no bones have been broken. Again, in Exodus 12, it tells us that it must be a perfect lamb, right? So no blemish and no broken bones. So it shows us that we have a new Passover lamb, someone who we have Jesus there sacrificed as a new lamb for the world, a new lamb that was for the forgiveness of our sins. So John is showing us that Jesus is creating a new Passover, a new sacrifice. But what next? Yes, he's pierced. He's pierced, and blood and water come gushing out of his side. We already saw from last week that the blood and water shows that he is the new temple. But also the blood and water shows us that Jesus, through the blood, washes us clean. Washes us clean in baptism. And so when we enter the mystery of baptism, we enter into the waters. We enter into the cross. We enter into the sacrifice. So this sacrifice of the Lamb who is killed for our sin, killed for your sin, killed for my sin, killed for all on earth that give himself to them. And so it's really significant as well for us to note and put this together. So know he's the new Exodus, he's the new he's the new Exodus, the new Passover, the new Lamb. And he is there and he is sacrificing himself. And he's sacrificing himself out of love. Love for each one of us. And I find that amazing. And the interesting thing is that the hyssop, which has the blood of the lamb. So traditionally, the blood of the lamb was spread on the doorposts. But now it becomes wine, sour wine. And that's why it calls vinegar in the thing, but it's actually a sour wine. But what do we receive when we go to Mass? The blood of Christ. And it looks and appears like wine. But Jesus, in the mystery of the cross, in the mystery of the Mass, makes this his blood. And we receive the blood of the Lamb. We eat the blood of the Lamb. And so in the Passover meal, in the meal that we all partake in the meal of the new covenants, when Jesus drinks the fourth cup, which traditionally completes the Passover, he doesn't only complete the Passover, he says it's finished. The Passover is finished. There's no need for the Passover anymore because there is a new covenant that has been drawn by blood, by the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ, so that each one of us may come to receive him, know him, and love him. And so every time we go to Mass, we get to receive him, and we get to be present at Calvary. So through this great mystery, through the mystery of the cross, we are saved. Through this new covenant. So I encourage you now to continue to study, to have a good Holy Week. And if you want any more information on this, like Brant Pitre is a really good source. I encourage you to read that, which is the Jewish roots of the Eucharist. You've also got the fourth cup. So that fourth cup is there's a great book by Scott Hahn. So I encourage you to read that. Also, the Pope Benedict, he's Jesus of Nazareth. There's a 3-book series, but the one on Holy Week, maybe you want to purchase that as well, which is really good for Holy Week as we go forth. But unfortunately tonight I can't stop for a Zoom. So if you're watching somewhat live, because I'm actually just pre-recording this now because unfortunately I've got a meeting today. There will be no live, there will be no Zoom after this. But if you have any questions, feel free to either put them in the comments on YouTube, or to come and speak to me at St. Austin's and we'll have a chat about it. But for now, I will say goodbye and have a really good and holy Easter week. God bless you.